Swing by the 1 square mile village of Carmel-by-the-Sea, California, population 3,200 and change, and you'll be treated to gorgeous oceanside views and unique historic architecture. That is, of course, if you can find the place.
And that's one of the charms of Carmel. It's one of the stories we get to tell. There's no street addresses.
Yeah, as pointed out by that local resident, Carmel doesn't have street numbers for its buildings. In the era of GPS navigation, an entire town lacking addresses sounds like the kind of problem you'd expect from Apple Maps. But in Carmel's case, a place about 120 miles south of San Francisco, it's actually just a historical oddity.
We've just never had street addresses within the city limits of Carmel. So it's not a lack of anything. This is the way Carmel's been since its founding back in 1916 or 17, over 100 years ago.
Yeah, this little wealthy California enclave where Clint Eastwood was actually mayor for a while in the 1980s is known for all sorts of quirks. Like, they don't allow fast food chain restaurants, and they even require a permit if you'd like to wear high heels, complicating your plans to host a drag brunch at Burger King. But one of the most enduring oddities since the town's founding is what its tourist website describes as an unwillingness to see their village become citified and given to the demands of those fat cats over at Big Address. Indeed, there's actually no mail delivery service in Carmel, so if you wanted someone to send you an address book to peruse as a foreign cultural artifact, you'd have to pick it up yourself at the US Post Office, the only place in town with a real address.
I think it's more communal when you have to come down to the post office to get your mail, because you can see your neighbors and the people that you work with or friends.
That's another longtime local who's simply gotten accustomed to the town's customs for identifying buildings, describing them by color or style, like, I live in the blue house that's half pine cone, relying on nearby landmarks, like, I live in the place near the green garbage can, assigning a unique name to the place, like Las Ondas, in English the waves, or simply using a descriptor based on the street, like, meet me at the southwest corner of San Antonio at 9. Rolls right off the tongue.
I've lived here so long, I've kind of forgotten what it's like to have mail delivered, so it doesn't bother me.
Well, even though for decades residents have been pushing back against being addressed, including one threat to secede from California over failed state legislation requiring house numbers in 1953, in the words of Timothy Chalamet himself, the times they are a-changin'.
Well, what the council decided on a 3-2 vote was we go ahead and take a look at getting street addresses in Carmel.
That's the modern mayor of Carmel, not Dirty Harry, addressing a July city council vote to move forward with a plan to issue street numbers, a measure that he himself voted against, as he told the Associated Press.
I just don't think it's necessary. I mean, honestly, we've lived this way for 100 years. We don't need them.
I have many constituents, many residents in this town that have been having lots of complications and problems caused by not having street addresses. And this ranges everything from not having medicines delivered, to not being able to turn on utilities, to not being able to get a credit card.
That's one of the city council members who notes that, yeah, you know, a lot of things kind of rely on street addresses, and not just the bustling outdoor number industry. During the pandemic, for instance, people stuck at home were having trouble receiving packages and meal deliveries. And it's continued to be a problem for people relying on modern conveniences like Ubers or UPS deliveries. How's the humble porch pirate supposed to know he's stealing the right package from the right house?
When emergency crews are responding, particularly at night, it's very difficult to count houses in order to find the right house. Sometimes they go to the wrong house, and that wastes precious time.
In spite of police and fire officials offering up support for street addresses, pointing out that a lack of street numbers violates fire and building codes, Carmel's mayor writes off those safety concerns, noting that local emergency service providers have a detailed knowledge of this 1 square mile town. Following that Carmel City Council vote in July, the city's now got to draw up a numbering plan that's got to be approved by the US Postal Service. But before you start hoarding stamps and salivating over that luxury mailbox, I'd keep that flag flaccid for now. For one thing, even with addresses, there's still going to be no residential mail delivery in the place. And come November, locals will be voting again on council members and a mayor, who will ultimately determine the fate of whether to start passing out numbers like Count Von Count.
I don't think street numbers will ruin the charm. No. It's fine having street numbers.
Some residents, like this guy who lives there part-time, look forward to being able to get packages and the possibility of receiving urgent care in the event of cardiac arrest.
I'm in favor of it because of delivery issues. Uber will work better. The ambulances will be able to find us when I have a heart attack, and my UPS driver will be able to deliver my books.
We here at The News Refresh don't have a physical address, but we do have a web address. And if you want to subscribe for more weird and interesting news stories each and every day, just open your browser and type http https://www.youtube.com/channel/UCHU1. You know what? Just hit the button.